Is that a big rivalry, UBC and U of T?
Yes.
Welcome to the very first episode of the CBC Sports Swimming Show. I'll be your host, Brittany MacLean Campbell, and I'm truly so excited to share my love and passion for this sport with you all. So, what is this show going to be and what's it going to look like? Well, it's going to be a weekly episode on YouTube where we're going to break down timely topics in the swimming world and discuss key moments throughout the season from a Canadian lens. We're going to have a ton of fun guests on, everywhere from current athletes, we're going to see alumni, we're going to see coaches, and we're going to see other notable names in the sport. But most importantly, we're going to have a lot of fun. And as we start to build and develop, I will have special contributors on the show. For this week, I am absolutely thrilled to have a co-host who is a dear friend of mine. She is a 5-time Olympic medalist. She is a 3-time world champion. Please welcome Kylie Masse.
Hi.
Kai, how are you?
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled. First of all, we have to catch up. I just want to know what's new with you. How's training going? Just a bit of a vibe check.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been nice to take my foot off the gas a little bit this year and try some different things, bounce around a little bit, and I've just been really enjoying that. I swam in Westmont in Chicago about a month ago, and that went surprisingly well. So I'm really just enjoying it right now, and it's been fun.
Yeah, I think you're at such a cool time in your career because obviously you've seen success. So you know what works well. You've achieved some remarkable things in this sport, but you're also at the beginning of a quad. It's a bit of a reset time. You can try some new things. Do you find this like newfound excitement and passion for what could be still out there in the sport?
Definitely. I think it's been for so long, it's been the same year after year, and I've never really had the opportunity to take this big of a break or to have so much choice and autonomy to decide what I want to do. So I've really just, as much as it's been scary and very confronting, it's been really cool to kind of lean into that side.
Really cool indeed. And we have our opening segment to come, but before we get into that, I want to bring the viewers into my personal life with you a little bit because one of my favorite things to always ask you about is fashion. You have ability to thrift like none other. I love your fashion sense. I'm always looking on your Instagram. And before this, we had chatted. I said, Kylie, have you been keeping up with the Coachella outfits this year? And you said, I'm actually more keeping up with the camping situation. So I have to start with a bit of a pop culture question. Could you survive Coachella camping?
Honestly, I don't know if I could do that heat. I feel like I've seen people complaining about the heat, but I've just been so fascinated by people's setups and like what they've brought and watching all over TikTok, everybody's little routines in the morning before the festival, and I found that pretty cool.
The lineup for the showers. I also think just in general, like these are the type of things that the VIP experience is worth the money when you look at it. I'm like, okay, I understand why people are putting in this extra money for like an air conditioning or like to get a good spot. It also looks like such a nightmare when they're trying to get out of the festival. That is one thing I don't think I could do. Question to you though, what would be your preferred musical guest performer at something like a big festival?
Ooh, definitely something rap, I would say, or maybe Beyonce, or Lil Wayne. I don't know. I feel like so many different genres. I would it would be a vibe.
I feel like people don't realize that Kylie's actually a huge rap girly. You wouldn't expect it, but she is. So there you go. That's our first tip of the day. Our first tip of the episode. Kai, we did see Penny Alexiak at the festival though, so shout out there was a swimmer there. Did we see any of her outfits?
I saw a few. She was killing it as always. But we'll definitely have to maybe we'll get her on and she can give us a rundown.
There you go. See? My co-host is already plugging for new guests. I love to see it. Okay, our first full segment is going to be called Hot Topics, where we're going to break down the biggest things happening in the sport for every week. So to start it off, Kylie, I want your opinion. I'm going to read a headline and I'm going to have you kind of just share what you think of it. So first, stroke 50s are coming to the Olympic Games. The IOC announced the addition of the 50-meter breaststroke, the 50-meter backstroke, and the 50-meter butterfly for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Kylie, your thoughts?
I'm excited. For me personally in my career, I think this is a really exciting time to be in the sport. It's really cool to be able to see people, have the opportunity to extend their career a little bit longer, perhaps. And I think it just brings more excitement and brings something new.
And we're not going to try to beat around the bush. You're a world champion in the 50 backstroke. That came in 2022. We're seeing the race here, and I think this is a good way to articulate how close some of these races are. Like at this point, you are by no means the clear leader, but this is what's going to be something to look forward to for the viewers to have the opportunity. It's going to be intense. It's going to be fast. It's going to be, anybody's game. We're going to see some new names to the mix that haven't really been successful on the Olympic field in the past because sprinting is always kind of thought of, can I say it, as a bit of an afterthought? Do you agree?
I think so. I think that's changing now, though. Definitely in the last couple years, it's shifted.
Yeah, I think when we look at the fan engagement for the sport, I think this is one of those things that, like, when I look long term and I look at what's going to bring eyeballs, I think this is going to help because it's fast, it's exciting, it's fun. I am coming from a race that took 15 minutes long, and I know nobody wanted to watch the races that I did. And you needed to cut to a commercial, arguably 2 to 3 commercials, if we're being honest. And I feel like attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, so that's getting less and less. The feedback, though, hasn't all been positive, and Michael Phelps, the GOAT of swimming, has been pretty vocal that he's not necessarily all on board with this. He had a comment saying basically that it's a bit like summer league swimming. What do you say to the critics of this concept?
I'd say to let it ride out and give it a chance. I think it'll be interesting to see how they work it into the schedule. And, there's obviously logistics that they have to sort out still. But like anything, it's the beginning. And, let's try and get behind it and see what'll happen.
Yeah, and you put it so well. I think it's going to keep people's careers longer. I think now that it's a focus event, people are going to be able to truly focus on it. So we're going to see like a whole new era of sprinting in swimming, which is really cool. I know, I said my first reaction was, I'll be honest, it's a little bit of jealousy just because I know I wouldn't have been good at it. And I'm like, man, if I could have focused on a 50 fly and that was like my bread and butter, I will be honest about that envy though. I think sometimes we just have to say it out loud. I'm like, man, that seems fun, but it's going to be a new, different type of hard. And I don't want to discredit it. The 50s are hard. I don't want to say they're not. They're just a different type of hard. So really looking forward to watching how that one unfolds and to watch the swimming community kind of adjust. Swimming Canada actually today made an announcement that at trials, those events are going to be selection events. So that is a positive push in the right direction that athletes within Canada are going to go to trials and be able to qualify for world championships in those events. So Kylie, is it safe to say we'll see you swim the 50 backstroke at trials?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe even the 50 fly. Let's go with all the
Maybe.
50s. Maybe. You can rock a 50 fly. I love watching you do the 50 fly. Okay, our second topic or hot topic of the week is a fun announcement. There are 2 athletes added to the World Championship roster for Canada. And I like to say the path to LA kind of starts now and these World Championships in Singapore. Canada named their first 2 swimmers this week, Eric Brown and Emma Finland. They will be swimming open water 10K. We go from 2 complete opposites there. We just talked about the 50. Kylie, would you ever dabble in open water?
Never. I can proudly say that. I have so much respect, but it could never be me. But it was super impressive to see them do that. And I know Eric came off of NCAA's and went right into racing that 10K. So to watch them kind of continuously build through that, but to now have checked that box, I think it's super awesome.
Yeah, and it gives them a little bit more comfort moving forward, knowing, okay, we've got that qualification down. Those are 2 athletes we'll still see at trials. 2 athletes that swim pool and open water, which is great. And that was how they pre-qualified because their 1,500 times were fast enough to get that qualification. But there was still potential for other open water athletes to be on that roster. So I'm looking forward to it. I agree, Kai. I couldn't do it. And that's coming from a girl that swam distance, but I am terrified of open water. People think like, you're a swimmer, you must be comfortable. But I truly, if I don't know what's beneath me, it's game over. I am no interest. So kudos to Eric and kudos to Emma. Our last hot topic this week, there was a world record broken. I mean, can we just take a moment? It is April. The world record that was broken, Lucas Martins of Germany, 3:39.96 in the 400 free. He breaks Paul Biedermann's mark back from 2009. Super suited era. Kylie, can you give some context into how incredible this achievement is?
Insane to have watched people chase that record for years and years, and to have him break it. The first year of the Olympic quad is typically kind of, people are going on various different paths, and to see him, put his head down and do that in April, like you said, is truly amazing. And I hope he's soaking it all up right now.
Yeah, and that time, like we mentioned, like hasn't been beat in 16 years. We are in a time where some people are taking a full year off post Olympics as they deserve to do. Some people got back into training kind of like January. And then Lucas Martins comes in and says, I'm going to be at my best in April, which I keep saying April as if everyone knows that, but truly swimmers are aiming to peak in the summer at world championships, right? So, like, when you think about this point of the season, I'm sure he wanted to go fast, but I don't know. Do you think he would have expected to break that world record at a meet like this?
I don't know. For some countries, they use their qualifications at different meets. They don't necessarily have a trials like we do in Canada. So it would be interesting to see his takedown on whether that was his preparation and he was, aiming for that, or if it was something that he was just feeling relaxed and he had a great swim.
And Kylie, I have the privilege of actually talking to a previous world record holder. So, talk to me a bit about that mindset. Like after you break a world record, was it sheer relief? Because I know with yours, for example, similar to Lucas, like there had been conversation beforehand. It wasn't outside of your radar. You know what that time is. You know exactly where you need to go. How was the emotional kind of moments after you touched that wall?
There was definitely a fair bit of relief. I think having been talked about for so long and like anticipated, I really felt a relief when I did touch the wall and see that I had done it. And ultimately, in the end, just like shock and excitement. And I remember looking up and seeing all the Canadians in the stands, and that's a memory I'll remember forever.
And for those who don't remember it as closely as we do, that was from Budapest back in 2017. And I was at my first ever color commentary job and I was working for FINA. And so I was on the international broadcast. And if you know me, you know I get excited over my friends doing incredible things anytime, but let alone breaking a world record. I was jumping up and down. I'm on a live broadcast and I genuinely could not compose myself. So thank you for that memory for myself as well, because Kylie, it was such a special moment for me. Okay, well, we're getting into our segment where we're going to get a chance to chat with another athlete. And our athlete interview this week is none other than two time Olympian, 2024 world champion. Please welcome Finlay Knox. Hi,
What's up,
Finn. How
guys?
are you?
How's it going? I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We are great. Now, before we dive
Good.
into our topics at hand that I'm excited, we just chatted about the stroke 50s. Are you excited about that announcement as well?
I think it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's three other events that we can bring eyes to the sport, and it's quick, it's fast. Everyone loves watching the 50s, and I feel like, there are some negative talks about it, but um, in the long run, we need to keep the sport entertaining and fast and fun, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Great stuff. So to start off, we're going to ask you about what's been going on recently. You just came from a training camp in Chula Vista, then to Edmonton with a stop in Calgary at first, like sounds like. So just fill us in. What's going on?
Yeah, so pretty much I train out of the UBC Training Center, the aquatic center on UBC campus, and every year around April they do their yearly maintenance. So that gives us kind of an excuse to go out to a nice location to train for a little bit, and we went out to Chula Vista. It's kind of a spot that we're maybe testing out for the staging camp for the LA Olympics. So we're just kind of scoping it out, checking it out, seeing what we like, and also get us swim in the sun for a little bit. And it tied in perfectly with the timing of the new event that Canada is hosting with Canada Open. So we came from Chula Vista straight to Edmonton for that competition, and now we're back in Vancouver.
Well, great stuff. I so far I was excited to watch Canadian Open because I think it's like one of those new unknowns. We're still building, we're still learning. But to give you guys context back home, I wanted to note this is a new event started last year with Swimming Canada's kind of plan towards LA 2028. The goal there is to have mid-cycle quality racing on Canadian soil. And Kylie, we had chatted about it. Sometimes it's hard to find those meets that you can prioritize through the season. Often you have to go elsewhere. So can you bring some context into what this meet would look like for an athlete as they're planning throughout their year?
Yeah, I think it's great to be able to try and build this domestic competition within the country so that we can use that, especially with having a later trials now in June. Something that's new to us. I've never at least raced at trials in June. So I think the intent is having that as a preparation, kind of see where you're at meet, and then build off of that into trials.
And Finn, you were there on the ground. I always say boots on the ground. You were there in Edmonton. What was the vibe? Was the energy high? Do we think it still needs improvement?
Yeah, I think now this is obviously coming from more of a critical standpoint, but I think Canada still has quite a long ways to go in terms of bringing the energy at swim meets. And first of all, it starts off with the athletes and having some fast swims and something to get excited about. And then obviously on the other businessy side of it, marketing it pretty well and bringing some eyes and attention to it. But, it's still the beginning and we're just getting there. And I think last year was a pretty good start in Toronto. There's a pretty good swimming community and base out there. And then bring it to Edmonton, it's a little bit smaller, and that is maybe passionate as Toronto, but we still had some really good swims out there. Unfortunately, I'm kind of dealing with a little bit of a semi mid-season injury, but nothing to be too concerned about. So I had to make a few calls to decide whether or not it was a good idea to race, and I only swam a few times, but some of my teammates obviously going to plug them, like Blake Tierney, Cole Pratt, Yuri, Ingrid, Emma, and Bridget. They're all swimming pretty quick, and for an in-season meet where we came off of a hard training camp in Chula Vista, it's a good place to be, and it's a good spot to see kind of where we're at so we can fine-tune leading as trials.
Yeah, and speaking of plugging, I am going to give a quick plug to my favorite race that I watched so far this weekend. There were two of them. They both came in the 200 freestyle. So first, I'm going to start by a shout out for Mary Sophie Harvey in the women's event because the time she went right now is quite impressive. She put up a 1:56.4 in the 200 free, which makes her the second fastest time in the world so far this year, just off the podium last year at the Olympics. Kylie, this has to be encouraging when you look at a world championships if you're Mary Sophie Harvey.
100%. Yeah, and she's someone who can do so many different events, and I know she likes to choose different events at various different meets. So to see her kind of take on the 200 free and throw down a really good time, I can only imagine that's just confidence for her moving forward, especially into trials in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited for those trials, guys. Can't wait to see you all there. Last shout out is to Antoine Sauvé because we talk a lot about the Olympics and the people that just get there. And I do want to give a shout out to the people that narrowly watch their dreams, sadly, don't come to fruition. And for Antoine, he was on the outside of that Olympic conversation around Jeremy Bagshaw, where he missed the team by 5/4 or 5/100ths of a second in the 200 freestyle. And then he comes to Canadian Open a year later and goes a time faster than what he went in Olympic trials. Finn, a reaction to that? Do you think that one's kind of like a name that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was in Doha with him, and he showed some real good promise there. And obviously, the unfortunate thing with sport is, especially swimming, you have to kind of perform that time at the trials. And obviously, it didn't go his way, but he's still a young athlete, and he's putting up times that are quick in season. And the best thing with that is just confidence and building through. And I guarantee you he's going to be a threat for the championships team this summer, and then he's just going to progress upwards and onwards from here on out. So although it was a little unfortunate for him, it's definitely fueled the fire, and I think he's going to be more dangerous because of it.
Love it. I love to hear it. And I think we're on a positive streak. We got to focus on the positives. Sometimes it's good to be honest, but also let's keep lifting each other up. And I agree. I think that's something, take away what you can and move forward. And I think he's definitely going to have that moment in his career and look back on this and think, okay, I'm actually really grateful that my dream in the moment didn't happen because it's made me that much stronger. In the moment, though, oh man, that's heartbreak. We are going to move on to kind of our next topic, which I wanted to chat with you both about the USports season in general. Short course season wraps typically in March because, fall till, start swimming around this beginning of the school year in broad terms. So that's September. And then February and March is usually when the championship meets come for short course season. Finlay, you just wrapped up your first year as a UBC T-Bird. I was definitely needing to note that you are a 24-year-old first year in university. How's it feel? The last time we chatted, you had said you were excited about getting back in school. So I did want to roast you slightly, but I also wanted to give you some kudos that you're back in school, and I just wanted to hear about how it's going.
Yeah, things are great. Obviously, I'm training out at the High Performance Center, which kind of has association with UBC, which is amazing because I can still kind of have my foot in with Swimming Canada and do all the training camps and be in the know with everything that's going on in the country for swimming, and but also have my foot in with the UBC and be able to support their men's team and the overall team for these championship meets and also get an education along with that. It's been incredible and obviously something new. Being fortunate enough the last few years to just be able to swim professionally, and with making my move out to Vancouver, I knew I had an opportunity to start my education, and we gave it a crack. So it's been a very good first semester or first year, I should say, and very happy with how things went.
And Kylie, I mean, both of you, I have two of the most successful U Sport athletes on with me today. So feeling very privileged. But Kylie, you lived it. You've been there. University of Toronto. First of all, are you two rivals? Like, is that a big rivalry, UBC and U of T?
Yes. I'd say so.
Gloves up. We definitely are battling to the end. Tell me about what the U Sports system meant to you and a little bit of insight into why it was important for you to kind of like take that path.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I don't think I would be where I am without having those experiences, and just being a part of a community and a team where you're striving for something together. And I wasn't in a center that was, I was in this kind of a different situation than Finn was because I was fully on the team and training with the team all the time, and just having those people around you and then, working towards an OUA championships and into a U Sports. I was also in an era of Canadian swimming where there were so many Olympians and incredible swimmers that were on UBC women's team. And we had the biggest rivalry for my entire U Sport career. So U of T came on top once in 2016, and that was a very exciting time. But no, it truly was an amazing experience, and just to be able to pursue academics and athletics at the same time, although challenging, was very rewarding and fulfilling in so many ways.
Yeah, that was the same for my university experience too. Is like if you find somewhere that it just means more. You're representing something greater than yourself. You're finding that community, and it gives you that extra push towards great results in the pool. And Finlay, I mean, we talk about the year. It went pretty well for you. The Men's Athlete of the Meet Award, overall team title, and you broke 6 U Sports record. We've got some vids of your 200 fly. Do you have a highlight of the meet or something that was kind of like a moment that stood out for you?
I think first of all, getting the kind of national title back to UBC was pretty special. I know they had been kind of falling short to U of T, I believe, the last few years. So um, it was nice to be part of that and help the team kind of get that championship back to UBC. And the other thing was, I'm obviously in a fortunate position where um, I can swim a bunch of strong events of mine and perform well, and also have the ability to swim some off events and still be able to get in the race and have a good competition there. So swimming the Junior Fly for the second time, and uh, I think the first time I had swum it that season was the first time in, oh, it must have been like 7, 8 years. So just performing different events and just kind of testing my versatility, especially as a medley swimmer, seeing what I'm capable of, and just kind of pushing the limits. And obviously, we also came off of a pretty hard training camp as well leading into that. So just testing our grit and our strength and seeing what we could do in tough situations, and get into a race and really fight for it. So it was awesome.
That is
Speaking
ultimate.
of your oh,
Go ahead, Kai.
sorry. I was just gonna say, speaking of your versatility, Finn, how did you decide on what events to swim? Like, was that a collaboration with Derek, the head coach of UBC, or was that fully kind of up to you?
I would say it was a combination of both. Obviously, um, for the main goal of UBC, we wanted to get that title, and we had to be a little smart with events and what events were kind of maybe didn't have as good of a chance of winning some good points there. So I definitely stood up and kind of took that challenge on board. So, for example, some of the Tuned Butterfly was one of them, and although the Tuned IM is my main event, I think UBC men's, we don't have too many kind of strong Tuned IM swimmers. So I was actually wanting to go into that meet and not swim the Tuned IM, but obviously being a team sport, you kind of have to do what is best for the team, and I went and swum the Tuned IM there, and then obviously just being part of the relays and just doing everything I can to be getting as many points and supporting the team along the way.
Kai, were there any
Awesome.
events for you that you were like, I didn't really want to do that, but for U of T, I'm going to do whatever they need me to do?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I always swam like 100 fly or 200 IM. I definitely did a 200 fly at 1.2. I think the only event I didn't do was a 200 breast. And I stand by that.
I stand by that. It's not happening. But I think that's interesting to know. And can you confirm, because I did not swim in USports, can you get, is it 3 individual events and then as many relays as you want to do? Or is it 4 individual?
I can answer that because I just did it. It's 4 individual and then as many relays as, so I believe it was 3 relays, 4x2, 4x1 free, 4x1 medley. So 3 relays and 4 individuals is kind of the cap you can do.
Yeah, and I think when we talk a lot about like Finn's talking about being strategic, same with Kylie, and you have to like say you're a backstroker and that's your bread and butter, but you need to hit your like quota for your team and you have to get to the event. By the way, she's like world class in the 100 fly and in the IM if she wanted to be. So definitely not a bad thing, but that's why we're talking about like, oh, you have to pick and choose the events that would make the most sense for your team. And strategically, like Finn, if you had a really strong 200 IMer at UBC that kind of checked that box already, you might have made a bit of a different decision, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're allowed to enter in 6 events to kind of see the site sheets come out and where we're positioned, and then obviously you're only allowed to swim 4. And I had been put down for the 200 breast that day, and ideally I would have loved to have swum that 2 breast because the other event I did that day was 50 fly, and I literally had like, it probably ended up only being like 9 minutes between the 2 swims, and I definitely hurt on that 50 fly. I got out of the 2 IM, went straight to the cool down. I think I only managed to get in 100, and then I was walking out for the announcement. So, wish I kind of had a little bit more time in between those races, but you know, kind of embracing that kind of university dual meet type style, where you're just going up racing and giving everything you have.
And that was such a typical swimmer answer partway through your last response when you said like we came off a hard training camp. We all say that so you all know that they weren't fully tapered or rested because it's like swimming lingo that is like, okay, well I did good, but like I wasn't shaved down for this. Is that not true, guys?
Oh, for sure.
100%. Yeah.
100%. We're all guilty of it. I did it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, that was great, I guess. But like, I was coming off a really hard training block. And like, we all just say it as like natural instinct. But it's true because you got to
It's
make
like
sure everyone
signaling
out
you
there
have
knows.
something left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're setting yourself up and expectations up for like, there's more. And I did my best with what I was given in the moment. We're going to end with a fun game. I'm loving just chatting swimming with you both, but my favorite part of this show is to have a fun little new segment called No Cap. Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, please. Okay, I have a swim cap here, and officially, Finlay is our Gen Z correspondent. I was just joking because Kylie is right on the bubble of Gen Z and Millennial, but hopefully everyone knows the No Cap reference. I'm just going to grab my cap. Ooh, I got my cap. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I just joked too, I'm waiting for my Finn branded cap. I'm going to pull a question every single week, no matter who our guest or our co-hosts are, and they're fun swimming related questions, and they're going to answer as honestly as possible because no cap, right? I'm pretty sure no cap means like no lie, correct? Gen Z correspondent?
I guess so, yeah.
You're like, Brittany, no. Okay, so week 1, our no cap question is, just to prove that I'm pulling out of the cap. Okay, no cap week 1. Okay, you'll each have to answer this independently. What role do you play in the ready room? So basically what I want to know is like, are you the quiet one with your headphones on? Are you chatting with a teammate? Or are you like creating conversation and being giggly and silly? Kylie, I'll start with you.
I definitely am more of a chatter and like to just have fun and chit chat, just catch up.
Okay. So is that
I'm
like a
never one to put my
distraction
headphones in.
method?
No, not at
Okay.
all. It's just more like
Fun.
we're just, we're all cool here. Even though we're gonna race. Like obviously you have like I have a couple moments I feel like where I'll sit down and like not be chatty, but I feel like fortunately in the backstroke ready room, I don't know what it's like in every other ready room, but like in the backstroke ready room, it's pretty chatty and friendly for the most part.
Love it. You've established those friendships too. You deserve to be able to be like comfortable. And these are the
Yeah.
moments of like pure, this is like as vulnerable as you can get, I feel, as an athlete, because there's one part of you that's about to like walk out to see some of your biggest dreams come true. Or it could be like, I just need to not think about it that big and just kind of focus in on like, I'm here around people I know and I'm familiar with, and let's just like tone it down. That's something I use as well. Finley, what about you?
Yeah, so obviously to like give some context to some people who don't know who like what a ready room is, pretty much the last call room. It's you're in there with like seven of the other competitors you're racing against, and maybe this is more like coming from a guy's sport perspective, but um, to me it's like we got 15 minutes to mentally be in the best headspace we can to race, and um, for me, I need to go through a process to make sure that I'm staying focused and I'm ready to go, and um, obviously that kind of it's a coping mechanism for me to kind of keep my nerves under control. But I like to I have a process of listening to music. I do some breathing. I know at a certain point when to tie my suit, at a certain point when to put my cap and goggles on. There's not any like superstitions, but it's just a nice process to kind of keep me organized. I know for myself in past when I haven't had something to think about, or um, you know, don't have a process in place, that 15 minutes can feel like the longest 15 minutes of your life, especially if it's before an important race you want to do. So I've made sure to kind of come up with a plan with my sports psychologist on what kind of gets me in the right optimal performance zone, and kind of go about that way. For me, that's headphones on, doing my breathing, staying focused. Regardless of what's going on in the ready room, whether people chatting, being quiet, arm swings, just kind of let it happen, and just go with the flow, and just enjoy racing and doing what I do best, and that's having fun and racing hard. So that's kind of my process.
Kai, I think he's trying to upstage us right now. He's like all business, and we're out here being like, we just like to
Yeah.
have fun and make friends and make it casual. I have to ask you both before we move on from the ready room, what, like, do we bring our phones in the ready room? I don't even remember, to be honest. I've been retired that long. Or are you like just no devices?
I'm no
No, you don't bring
device.
phone? Well, I'm listening to music, so I gotta have my phone. Gotta,
Okay.
put on the right song. But in terms of like, I'm not going on my phone or checking Instagram or anything like that. It's purely just using my breathing app and listening to music, and making sure I got the right song to kind of fit the mood to kind of either hype me up or calm me down a little bit. So I definitely have the phone in the ready room.
You're not like scrolling TikTok or like on the dating apps, just like waiting for your
No.
ray. Could you imagine? That would be great. They always
Uh,
talk about like,
some people definitely are. Some people are in the ready room on Snapchat or on Instagram, but you know, we train so hard all throughout the year, and we find a process that works for you. And for me, that's a certain process I do in the ready room, and that's what I stick to. So
is there a different song for Kylie, I guess, like a 50 back and a 200 back that you want to listen to beforehand? Or is this just like vibes no matter how I'm feeling?
For me, it's just like vibes, like
Okay.
hardcore rap all the time.
It just gets, and Finn, what about you? Does it depend on the event? You said like it depends on what you're kind of set out to do.
yeah, I would say it more depends on um, kind of my feeling, some depending on the event, if it's, a time trial at practice and there's no one kind of watching and it's pretty dead, you need something pretty upbeat to kind of get you going and get that heart rate pumping. And if it's at a bigger meet, maybe you need to be a little more relaxed and a little bit more chill. It's all dependent on kind of how your body is responding to the situation at hand. And Yeah, music's amazing to kind of help with that because there's so many different tempos and beats to kind of fine tune what you need to get in that perfect kind of optimal zone to race. So um, I love it. Music has been my savior for the last probably 10, 15 years of racing. So I love it.
Well, sadly, we are out of time. I know, Kylie, you have a practice to get to soon. Finley, luckily, has a couple hours on us over in the West Coast, and he's had to sleep in this morning. But I'm so grateful that I got to catch up with you both. I can't wait to see you at trials at Vancouver, in Victoria, in the middle of June. So that one's coming pretty quickly for all of us. Really looking forward to seeing what you both throw down. And now that the 50s are there, I hope somebody enters at least someone enters in every single 50. I'm sure it'll happen. Might not be either of you, but I'm sure it will happen. If you are tuning in from home, I don't want it to be kind of like, I don't want it to pretend like we don't have a name, that's not obvious. We don't have a name yet of this show, but I want to involve all of you. I've been throwing around some fun names. So far, nothing's really stuck, but I encourage you all in the comments, let us know what you think this new swimming show should be called here at CBC. Come up with something fun. If it's witty, you get bonus points. If it makes me laugh, you get probably double bonus points, but it might not actually end up being the final decision because we can't be laughed at. We want to be laughed with. So make sure you are putting those comments in below. And no cap, this segment is supposed to be super interactive. So anyone at home that has a curiosity, it was really inspired by my Britt's Brain that I took on in Paris 2024 of things I was curious about that I thought other people would be curious about too. So if there's anything you're curious about, make sure you are submitting your questions for no cap. As always, I'm really grateful for both of you to have had this chat today, and we'll see the rest of you next week. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Britt. Can't wait to see you in Victoria.
I can't
Thank
wait.
you.
And you
See
too,
you
Kylie.
soon.
See you guys. Bye.